Hello, everyone. I almost said Friday Junior, but it's not. Happy Wednesday. We're almost there. So as you guys know, Khadijah Douglas here from Infinite Wellness, and we are doing another one of our amazing, incredible events talking all things fourth trimester. I'm not going to do all the speaking today. We have our amazing, most talented, incredible practitioner, Megan, who's going to guide you guys through the fourth trimester. If you have any questions, we are also live on Facebook. Drop them in the comments. We'll get to them throughout the talk. And happy Wednesday. Megan, all you.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. I'm super excited to go through everything with you. Like Khadijah mentioned, I am Megan. I am an integrative health practitioner, super excited to be working with Infinite Wellness. So today I want to go in and talk about how to support your body through the fourth trimester. I want to talk to you about functional medicine testing, all the things. So what we're going to get into today is the nutrients that are commonly lost in postpartum. We're going to get into emotional and mental health as well as it relates specifically to postpartum, sleep and rest, as well as some functional medicine testing benefits too. So you'll come away with some actionable tips so that way you can take on the fourth trimester in the most equipped way possible. So let's go ahead and get into it. So there are a lot of different nutrients that could potentially be lost in postpartum because growing a baby and creating life and all of the things is a very beautiful process, but it's also a stressful process in a lot of ways. It's good stress in a lot of ways too, but the entire process can result in us, feeling a little bit less nourished than when we started before we, became pregnant. So the first nutrient that I want to talk about is magnesium. So this is the first mineral that often gets depleted in a lot of stressful situations, even on a day-to-day basis too. And it's needed for about 3,000 different reactions in the body. It's important for nerve and muscle function as well too. But magnesium works together with a lot of other minerals to make sure that everything stays balanced and we stay as nourished as we possibly can. Another crucial nutrient is potassium. This is particularly crucial for energy production. It's crucial for digestion as well as adrenal health as well too. And it works with sodium to ensure that we can respond to stress efficiently. In a lot of high stress situations, these minerals can often become very depleted. So it's important to remember that potassium and sodium work very well together to ensure that our adrenals are properly nourished, and also that we've got enough energy to kind of like go throughout the days. And in postpartum, we are in a season of like a little bit more of a selfless kind of season in a lot of ways. So it's important to just be intentional and just understand of different ways that you can incorporate more potassium rich foods, or understand if potassium is something that you are deficient in too. Another nutrient that's often lost in postpartum is protein. This is needed for essential tissue growth. And on an HTMA, which we'll talk a little bit more about towards the end of the presentation, you can check what's called your phosphorus level to learn more about how well your protein intake is, or even how well you're absorbing it. So sometimes we can be eating a very balanced diet. We can be eating all the good things, a lot of good lean proteins and some vegetables and all the things, but sometimes our body's just not able to absorb it. And that's when you want to kind of take a deeper look into your gut health. But sometimes understanding your phosphorus level can kind of give you that window to what's going on in the rest of the body, which is why functional medicine testing is so great. Omega-3s are another nutrient that's often lost in postpartum. It's essential for brain function and development for both the mom and the baby. It's one of the building blocks for hormones as well too, and low levels can often indicate inflammation in the body. So there's a ratio between having omega-3s in your diet and in your body, but also omega-6s as well. And many of you probably know that omega-6s are more, processed inflammatory type foods. So we want to make sure that we are opting for things that are more omega rich 3, like fatty fish, chia seeds, hemp seeds, things like that too. But a supplementation can also be hugely helpful as well. B vitamins are essential for our mood regulation, for energy production, and they can get depleted when we're in a stressful season, even, postpartum aside. And it's also important for detoxification as well. We'll talk a little bit more about B vitamins in just a second, but they're also really important because they're made partially in our gut lining, and they can kind of work to build up other things in the body too that are necessary for optimal function. To continue to move forward, zinc is the building block for progesterone. Progesterone is that relaxing kind of hormone and helps to help us carry through a pregnancy as well too. So this is important if you're wanting to have more kids in the future, but it's also important for skin health, for immune health, and stomach acid production, and also optimal thyroid production as well too. You can use the copper to zinc ratio on a hair tissue mineral analysis testing to tell you about potential hormone imbalances that you may want to work to rebalance as you are like coming out of a season of postpartum, or sorry, coming out of a season of like having your baby and into the fourth trimester. It's important to kind of make sure that we get our hormones back into balance as quickly as we can. Copper, like I mentioned, is super important for hormones, but it's also important for immune function and collagen synthesis. It's our building block for estrogen, progesterone, and also neurotransmitters. If you're not familiar with what neurotransmitters are, they're really helpful in being able to regulate our mental and physical energy, and it works in combination really well with vitamin C too. Vitamin C is important for immune system function and also collagen synthesis, which is really helpful as we are kind of repairing our tissues through birth. And it basically helps us to heal, like I was just saying. So if you see a lot of stress in the body, vitamin C will need to be optimized to a better degree to ensure that you are able to recover in the quickest way possible. So those were all the nutrients that were very much lost in postpartum. You can see that there's a lot, but they all really work together in order to ensure that our cells stay as nourished as possible. But I want to go through some mental health and emotional tips as well too, and some challenges that can be often present, just to sort of give you a full picture of things. So you've got progesterone and estrogen, which are the two main female hormones that many people are familiar with, and they can be super high in pregnancy, and after birth they experience this sharp decline, and this can contribute to a lot of different mood swings, maybe some irritability, and maybe some emotional sensitivity as well too. Thyroid hormone fluctuations are also certainly present too. Some women can experience what's called postpartum thyroidosis, which is basically the inflammation of a thyroid gland. And this can lead to symptoms like mood swings, fatigue, and irritability. I say this all just as far as empowering, but there's ways to kind of nourish the body, which we'll talk about in just a second too. So don't feel like worried or anything like that, because there's ways to correct this and bring yourself back into balance too. Many of you are probably familiar with what cortisol is. If you're not, it's our stress hormone. It has like some good and bad. Like there's good cortisol. We want to have cortisol, but we don't want to have too much of it or too less of it. So many people in the fourth trimester are just recovering from the stress of childbirth, coupled with the demands of also caring for a newborn, whether you're a first-time mom or, you have had a child before or children before. But a lot of these like high demand can trigger a lot of increase in cortisol, and this elevated level can contribute to anxiety and often feelings of overwhelm too. We'll talk a little bit more about cortisol as it relates to sleep in a minute. But let's talk about melatonin, since I just introduced sleep. So melatonin is really impactful for our sleep. It helps us to fall asleep and ensure that we are, having a good night's sleep as best as we possibly can. And melatonin can often be affected by irregular sleep patterns that are common during the fourth trimester, and disrupted sleep can impact our mood and potentially our emotional well-being as well. So I would be remiss if I didn't tell you all these things and then not tell you how to support yourself. So the best thing that you can consider to do is consume a balanced diets with a bunch of different essential nutrients to support your hormones. So I'm going to list a few here. There's thousands others, but these are some of the core pieces. So omega-3 fatty acids are really crucial for the newborn brain and nervous system development, and it can be transferred via breastfeeding, and it has a role in alleviating postpartum depression and other mood disorders, and anti-inflammatory properties. Of course, I'm not diagnosing or treating or anything like that. It's all very much research-based. Vitamin D not only offers immune protection, but it contributes to our mood regulation and also hormonal imbalance as well, too. B vitamins, I talked about how crucial they are and that they're often lost in the season of giving birth. And people in the fourth trimester often show low levels of B vitamins. So not only are B vitamins important for our energy metabolism, they're important for our nervous system function and also mood regulation and hormone regulation as well, too. So it's the important thing to consider here is that it's involved in the synthesis and regulation of hormones. So you don't want to just look at estrogen and progesterone as their own separate pieces. You've got to consider the whole picture of everything. And that's a big portion of what we like to look at Infinite Wellness. We're not just looking at one solo marker. It's like, how is this affecting other pieces of the body too? Because that allows you to get more of the answers that you're looking for. Now, we can also go into self-care and mindfulness as well too, because you've heard a lot about stress and how stress is can be poison to the body. And I'm sure you've heard that term before as well too. So these are just some self-care practices that you can consider that would be super helpful for you, especially as you're, in a season of recovering and maybe not back totally to the normal day-to-day prior. So hydration with minerals is one of the most important things that I can tell you to start incorporating in the fourth trimester, mostly because a lot of good electrolyte packets have magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, and sodium, and they're essentially called our macro minerals, and they're super important for a lot of different crucial processes in the body. For example, our thyroid, our nervous system, our adrenals, they are helpful for our blood sugar and also just energy as well too. So finding an electrolyte packet or powder that has both of or all of these different minerals can be super nourishing. So that way it can your body can bring it into the cells so that your cells are able to receive that nutrients and do all of the necessary functions. Castor oil packs are really another great tool as well for a self-care thing. Not only do they promote the promotion of healing, but they can be used for pain relief, for reducing swelling, and the warmth of the pack can also be very relaxing too. And after the fourth trimester and beyond, you can consider to still use castor oil packs because they're really great for liver detoxification. If you're not familiar with what a castor oil pack is, essentially you can take a flannel or a piece of cloth or fabric and saturate it with the castor oil, and then putting it on your right side just underneath your rib cage, and then putting some heat on top of it. And the castor oil can be absorbed into the liver, and it can work to detoxify the body, but also generate a lot of other positive benefits, like I mentioned. In addition to castor oil packs, you can also consider dry brushing. This can be really relaxing for some people too, because, sometimes it's just you need 5 minutes just to reset and have some me time. And you can do dry brushing in a quick 5 minutes. It's good for exfoliation. It's good for stimulating circulation, which can be really helpful with reducing fluid retention. It can also support your lymphatic system, which, we never want to be stagnant in any way, because that's where toxins can build up, and then it can make us feel even worse as well too. So when you're dry brushing, you're brushing toward the heart, you're brushing the opposite way. So that way you can, remove the stagnation and move the lymph and anything that's carried within the lymph too. Sweating is another really important thing to, be mindful of too. It's important for detoxification. It can help with swelling and also fluid balance as well. And likely you're not getting into exercise like immediately, which is totally understandable, but perhaps using some of these other tools until you can get into exercise or use a sauna, it'll be just a great way to kind of detox the body and get yourself feeling like you have some rejuvenation too. Okay, so let's go ahead now and talk more about sleep and rest. It's a loaded topic, and I know this is one of the areas that are challenging for many moms too. But when you're trying to look at your circadian rhythm, your cortisol is rising, it's the highest in the morning, right when, the sun is rising and everything like that. That's how it's supposed to be. And gradually it's supposed to drop through the day. So that way melatonin can increase and help us to fall asleep at night more easily. If we've got dysfunction in our cortisol levels throughout the day, it can change our sleep cycles. Imbalances within our microbiome can also impact our ability to produce enough melatonin as well, too. And this is the key factor that I want to drive home here too, because part of supporting yourself in the fourth trimester is understanding if there's other imbalances in the body as well, too, and taking care of those things so that way you can be the healthiest, parent that you want. So 80% of our serotonin is made within our gut lining. Serotonin's that happy, feel-good transmitter. And we talked a lot about how stressful motherhood can be, especially in the fourth trimester. So serotonin is a precursor to melatonin. So if we don't make enough serotonin in our body, because maybe we've got some gut dysfunction, we've got a lot of stress going on, all of the things, then we won't be able to produce enough melatonin at night so that we can get a restful sleep. And in addition to needing melatonin, your body also likes to have adequate amounts of vitamin B6 to produce enough serotonin and melatonin. So B vitamins here, again, you can see why they're super important. And if we've got other stresses in the body is not going to prioritize producing enough serotonin, unfortunately. So again, looking at the whole picture here, improving wellness through the fourth trimester, we need to make sure that we are equipped with the right nutrients to make our body work in the most foundational way possible. So magnesium, copper, zinc, and iron all play a role in the synthesis of serotonin as well too. Magnesium plays a specific role in the conversion of tryptophan and serotonin, and it helps to regulate the sensitivity of serotonin receptors. So it basically allows for those nutrients to come in, and then the body can do what it needs to with the serotonin. Hopefully that made sense. So kind of going back here to sleep really quickly, with being a new mom in the fourth trimester, this is why incorporating different nutrients and minerals and potentially even some short-term supplementation can be hugely beneficial, because it will allow you to kind of produce the most foundational things. And you don't necessarily just want to supplement with vitamin B6. It's better to supplement with more of a complex, so that way you have as many and all of the different B vitamins needed so that your body can have everything that it needs in one swing here. So let's kind of go into now the benefits of functional medicine testing. So when you're looking at a hair tissue mineral analysis, which I've mentioned that quite a few times by now, so you're probably like, what is it? Let's learn more about it. A hair tissue mineral analysis gives you a comprehensive picture of understanding your body at a cellular level. So when you are, releasing minerals through your hair, so essentially with the hair test, you'd be taking a small section of your hair, sending it off to a lab to be analyzed. When our body's kind of releasing minerals through our hair, it's showing us how our stress response is. It's showing what our cells are doing at a cellular level, so that way we can make determinations about the next steps in a person's healing journey. And the great thing is that it looks at a period of over 3 to 4 months. So you can see the progression of different stresses, and you can go back and you can be like, okay, I was, at this phase, and during, this part of my pregnancy, X, Y, and Z happened. So it's just really helpful to kind of gather all that information. Blood work is kind of like a snapshot in time. So oftentimes you like to consider other testing just to understand the whole picture of things a little bit more clearly. And like I mentioned before, it provides us an idea of like how well your blood sugar is going. Do you have like high or low blood sugar? How well is your thyroid functioning as well too? Because certain minerals like calcium and potassium are needed to nourish your thyroid. So we can kind of see what that looks like. You can also look at your adrenal function. You can really see how stressed you might be as well. And you can also look at digestive issues and determine whether or not there are, further digestive tests that you need to consider. So that way you're able to digest your food and not feel bloated, gassy, things like that. With the hair tissue mineral analysis, you'll also be able to understand heavy metals and how they can be impacting your detoxification burden. There's a lot of things about heavy metals in the environment, particularly aluminum is one of the more pervasive ones that is really hard to get away from, but oftentimes mercury can be high for some people. The reason why it's important to understand what your burden is because you never want your burden to overfill. So if you think of your body like a rain barrel, if you keep piling and piling and piling stressors and things like that on top of it, eventually you're going to overfill, you're going to have different symptoms and things like that. And that can be really hard to deal with as you're kind of like going into a season of parenthood and things like that. So this is just a way for you to understand your health at the deepest level. It's important to note too that heavy metals have an affinity on the thyroid. So if you're really have a lot of heavy metals, it could be potentially impacting your thyroid as well too. The other thing to note too is that you can combine your hair tissue test with a microbiome test as well, and this can help you determine if you've got microbiome imbalances present. So you can kind of work on that as you are, going through the fourth trimester and beyond, just so that way you can, again, optimize your health. That's the name of the game here, is like, how do you optimize your health in the best way? With a microbiome test, you'll also be able to understand how well are you producing serotonin and how well you're producing B vitamins as well too. So you can kind of see the stress from a different aspect too. So hopefully you're able to gather how important different nutrients are for your body, especially after you've, gone through a season of childbirth and you're in this new stage of motherhood. And thank you so much for your time. I hope this was helpful, but also empowering for you, because you're not doomed for, a long time of health issues or anything like that. There's ways to empower yourself and things that you can change. That way you can just continue to optimize your health for your family for many years to come. So I hope this gives you the ability to take on the fourth trimester with confidence. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us at Infinite Wellness, and we're happy to support you in any way that we can.
Amazing. I did get two questions. Thank you so much. I did get two questions that literally just got emailed into me. Someone was like, I can't make it, but can you ask? She was listening to it, I guess, in the car. So you talked a lot about electrolytes. She wants to know, are electrolytes something you would recommend for someone who is currently pregnant?
I think it's a great thing to incorporate during pregnancy. Yeah, absolutely.
Recommended brands. She's like, I had a feeling you'd say that. Recommended brands.
I like LMNT and Relight. They're really clean brands. Do you have any recommendations that you personally love?
I like those two, Superior, Ultima, and then Athlites. I just saw they're a newer brand, very similar to, is it Element or LMNT?
Yeah.
So I just ordered some and I'll be trying them, but also
Yeah.
very similar. So thank you for that. And then the second question, you mentioned B vitamins a lot. I'm already taking a prenatal. Does that not cover all of my B vitamin needs?
It definitely has B vitamins in it for sure, but you would want to go with more testing to potentially figure out if there are other deficiencies. It's not right for me to like give you recommendations without looking at your case more specifically.
Right.
So I apologize, that's a little bit vague, but I would be missed if I didn't acknowledge that. So I hope that's helpful.
It is great. I appreciate it. Those are all the questions that I had. If you're watching this on the replay team, you know what to do. You can always just email us back at info@myinfinitewellness, and either Shalon or I will answer your emails, get you scheduled for any of those tests with Megan, and help support you through your 4th trimester. Again, Megan, thank you so much. We will be back in 2024. We're going to give December a break because life is lifing and holidays are holidaying. So we'll be back with our regularly scheduled monthly lunch and learns in December. But I wish you all an amazing holiday season. Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Rosh Hashanah. I don't know. Thanks, Friendsgivings, and all the things. And we look forward to continuing to supporting you. Megan, any final closing remarks?
No, enjoy the holidays, the time with families, and it was so fun speaking with all of you. So thank you so much.
Amazing.